Okay, everyone, we may have another Don Lemon on our hands. This time it's Tucker Carlson. He says the CIA is preparing a criminal referral to the DOJ against him because Carlson spoke to people in Iran right before the war. Apparently, it was the IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, our enemy. Now, will Tucker Carlson be arrested? Now, if the DOJ believes he committed a crime, yes, he could try to self-surrender through an attorney, but the feds might not let him. Now, Don Lemon, for example, offered to surrender, but the feds rejected the offer, tracked him down to a hotel in Los Angeles, and took him into custody. Now, he spent the night in jail since there was no magistrate judge on duty to address his bond until the next day. Tucker Carlson wants to avoid that scenario, obviously, but I don't know why he would be treated differently than Don Lemon. Now, he needs to lawyer up if he hasn't already. Here he is.
So the other day I found out that the CIA is preparing some kind of criminal referral against me, a crime report, to the Department of Justice on the basis of a supposed crime I committed. What's that crime? Well, talking to people in Iran before the war. They read my texts. So the crime under consideration apparently would be the Foreign Agent Act or something like that, acting as an agent of a foreign power. And I don't expect this to go anywhere. I'm not too worried about an actual criminal case against me for a bunch of reasons. So that's not a concern. I've also never taken money from anybody. Don't need it, don't want it. And that's provable. And moreover, it's my job to talk to everybody all the time and try and figure out what's happening around the world. That's literally what I do for a living. And I'm not going to stop doing that. Nor should I don't think.
Does he not sound just like Don Lemon before his arrest? Now, he defends himself by saying he's a journalist. It's his job to talk to everybody. And Tucker Carlson says he didn't receive payment from the foreign principal, but payment isn't necessary to be required to register under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. And let's be real, like Don Lemon, Tucker Carlson recorded his activities and posted it online for clicks. So it wouldn't be accurate to say that he or Don Lemon didn't profit from the activities they're accused of. They did. Tucker Carlson profited from speaking to the IRGC, and relevant to a potential criminal case against him, he repeatedly interceded on their behalf with President Trump in the week before the conflict began. And for that, he got lots of views and clicks. Now, here they are at the White House, literally the week before the first airstrikes. Now, it caused a controversy because the pro-Zionist wing of MAGA thought Carlson should have been banned from the White House by then. Now, thankfully, Carlson didn't succeed in convincing President Trump to become isolationist. And this next clip offers a theory about why President Trump kept Carlson around in that crucial week before launching Operation Epic Fury.
Based on what we now know, is that in this moment, Trump knew that Tucker Carlson was in touch with the IRGC. This was a moment when everybody was speculating, is Trump going to attack or not? So he invited Tucker to the Oval Office before the strikes, just before the strikes, knowing that Tucker Carlson, obviously, the IRGC are watching him, saying, well, this is a good sign. Our friend Tucker is now hanging out with President Trump, and they're happy. So it seems like Trump is bluffing. He's not going to attack. Now, Trump was bluffing, but the other way around. President Trump knew exactly what he was doing.
So, according to this, Tucker Carlson was a useful idiot to both sides. Talk about embarrassing. Now, the IRGC used Carlson to spread anti-American propaganda. Now, he's featured on Iranian state TV, as a matter of fact, and President Trump used him to fool the IRGC into thinking there would be no airstrikes. So, it's great to be useful. But to be an idiot, not so much, because now there could be a criminal prosecution of Tucker Carlson under FARA. Okay, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Now, here's the DOJ page explaining the law. Now, Tucker Carlson had to register as an agent of a foreign principal before he became a willing pawn of the IRGC, okay? That's according to this law. An agent of a foreign principal is, quote-unquote, someone who engages in political activities on behalf of a foreign principal, acts as the foreign principal's public relations counsel or political consultant, solicits, collects, disperses, or dispenses contributions, loans, money, or other things of value for or in the interest of a foreign principal, or represents the interests of the foreign principal before any agency or official of the U.S. government. Now, foreign agents are required to conspicuously label informational materials transmitted in the United States for or in the interest of a foreign principal. Now, there are exemptions to registration. Now, it looks like there's a diplomatic exemption, bona fide commercial activity and other activity not serving predominantly a foreign interest, humanitarian fundraising, religious, scholastic, academic, fine arts, or scientific pursuits, etc. Now, previous FARA prosecutions indicate that the key to being required to register is acting under the control of a foreign principal, control of some sort, that is to say, and that's just one indication that FARA is highly fact-dependent. Now, in my view, the law gives the government authority to require registration in cases of individuals whose relationship with the foreign principal should be disclosed, because it would be deceptive or unfair not to disclose it, and so whether registration will be required depends on the facts. Now, next, Carlson says that Zionists within the CIA allegedly are responsible for the criminal referral, so he's blaming Israel. Now, rather than blaming his own conduct. Okay, now this post says, so it definitely has nothing to do with the fact that clips of your show are playing on Iranian state TV? And it seems the CIA is asking that question as well, according to Carlson himself.
CIA, or people within CIA, just to be clear, it's a huge, sprawling, disconnected agency. What it does in a specific case doesn't represent what everybody in the building thinks, but there are some people who are mad at me for my views about Israel, and they have some latitude. And one of the reasons they pass on criminal complaints, in effect, to law enforcement is to justify warrants for spying on Americans. So that is an absolutely real thing. But the main reason they do it is to leak the existence of the investigation, such as it is, to the media, and then humiliate and terrify the subjects of this op. And that's, of course, happened to me repeatedly.
So Carlson says the U.S. government is being a big bully to try to stop his behavior. Yes, the government is a big bully by definition. The government bullies all of us into behaving in a manner that increases peace and prosperity for ourselves and everyone around us. So, to borrow a term from the judicial system, it's harmless error. In other words, if the government's conduct seems like bullying, you still have to show that it wasn't justified, or you have to show that your way is better. And incidentally, they'll adopt your ideas if you do come up with a better way. So we all heard. Tucker Carlson is sounding anti-government now, just like Don Lemon in the weeks before his arrest. Now, a few weeks ago, I had made a comment on this channel about Don Lemon's increasingly anti-government stance. Now, in this video, Tucker Carlson discussed his text messages being intercepted by the CIA and that it had happened to him before. For example, in 2021, when he was trying to get an interview with Vladimir Putin. Now, fast forward to his current predicament with the criminal referral.
And the intel agencies, again, not everyone in the intel agencies, because there are decent, hardworking Americans who work in the intel agencies are Americans, just like there are decent, hardworking Americans who work at the DMV. But there are also people with agendas and grudges and no sense of restraint who are happy to misuse the power they have granted them by our elaborate secrecy laws to hurt fellow Americans for ideological reasons. That is entirely real. That's the story of Russiagate. And it's likely that things like that will begin to happen at greater scale now.
Now, earlier in the video, he had said that our civil liberties were likely to be curtailed because of Iran, and he reiterates that sentiment in his conclusion. Now, that's the Don Lemon defense all over again, blaming government officials whom he dismisses as mere ideologues. No, they're the government, and they're protecting our national security, unlike some people on the internet who literally intervene on behalf of our enemies without disclosing that they could be acting at the direction of a foreign principal. Now, there's lots of ideologies out there, and that's one of them. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.